Keith Whitley continues on TNN.
Keith Whitley.
This is a song that I wrote with Curly Putman and Don Cook, and it's called New Kid in Town. We're looking for the king, the new Messiah. We're following the star, shining brighter.
When he first came to Nashville, Keith soon found he was not the overnight sensation he'd hoped to be. His traditional roots didn't blend with the new wave of modern country, but vocally, there was no doubting his natural gift.
Incredible range. He could go down and hit a bass note and then turn right around and hit an almost falsetto note and not miss a lick. I mean, he was incredible.
He was absolutely amazing. There was times on stage when I would absolutely lose my train of thought as far as a player, and get involved in what he was singing and his emotions and totally lose where I was at. Forget what song I was playing.
It was only a matter of time before Keith landed a recording contract. He signed with RCA, the label of one of his heroes, Elvis Presley.
When Keith signed, I'll never forget, I gave him the contract, and he wanted to sign it there on the spot. And I said to him, you can't do that. He said, well, no, I mean, you know, if you're giving me this must be fine, blah, 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 and all that stuff. I said to him, Keith, you really need to get a lawyer. He was just so excited about being signed to RCA that it didn't make a difference.
But Keith's excitement dimmed a little after he cut his first record for RCA. The radio station said it was too country.
It didn't work. I mean, it was just embarrassing what happened. I mean, nothing. But it was that time in the format where we were just coming through the Millsaps and the Dollies and the Crystal Gales and the Kennys, and we were moving more towards a mainstream sound. And even though Keith was a great singer, he was still very traditional as an approach.
Keith began to select more modern material to sing and had a few minor hits. It was around this time, in 1985, that Keith first met Nashville singer Lorrie Morgan, daughter of Grand Ole Opry star George Morgan.
We heard this voice coming out of the studio, and I was just blown away by this voice. And the guy was singing to Sport Worth Ever Cross Your Mind, which later became a George Strait hit. And I said, who is that singing in the studio? So we walked in the studio, and just this breathtaking man with a face to match the voice. I mean, everything was just beautiful about this guy.
I told her I loved her and I wanted to stay. She said, be sure, I'll call you late. Leaving in a taxi, I could hear my telephone ring. Calling me from Miami.
Keith's life was changing in many ways. His marriage was failing, with alcohol being one of the reasons. But professionally, he was about to have the breakthrough hit he'd been waiting for, Miami, Miami.
Miami. Oh, Miami. Miami, Miami loves me after all.
There are artists today, young artists, I'm thinking in particular of Tim McGraw, who can date his interest in becoming a country singer from hearing Miami, Miami on the radio. And I think that was the one where people started to go, you know, this is a real singer.
The song reached the top 15 and spent 20 weeks on the charts.
The one thing about Keith, though, you could take him 10 songs by 10 different demo singers, 10 different styles, and when Keith got done with it, it was Keith.
This song came on the radio. It'd been recorded, and it was Miami, Miami. And I just pulled the car over to the side of the road, and I was like, my God, somebody recorded this song and did it better than the demo, and it's great, and who is singing it? That's the number 20 song this week. It's Keith Whitley and Miami, Miami. And I went, Keith Whitley. And there he came again.
After Keith's divorce, he asked Lorrie if they could get together. And within a few months, they were engaged, despite warnings from some that they weren't suited for each other.
Keith was a worldly guy. Not a very good track record as far as his drinking was concerned, and so it was one of those forbidden kind of loves that I suppose, looking back, maybe made it a little more intriguing to both of us, a little more exciting. Somewhat like Romeo and Juliet. When something's forbidden, you can't help but, stick your fingers in there.
In November 1986, Keith and Lorrie were married, and soon fans were calling them Mr. and Mrs. Country Music. For Keith, having two musical careers in one household was a definite plus.
When I have a bad day, she knows what to say to him. She lets me have a bad day, I guess is what I'm trying to say, And I don't have to be Keith Whitley, the entertainer, when I come home.
Keith was certainly putting his hometown of Sandy Hook on the map. At a special ceremony, one of the town's streets was renamed Keith Whitley Boulevard. And soon there was another naming ceremony for the Whitleys. In 1987, Keith and Lorrie's son Jesse came into the world.
He was born yesterday morning at 4:45, and I was en route from Brookville, Pennsylvania, so I missed the blessed event. My bus arrived home about 10 o'clock yesterday morning. I think they'd had every highway patrol from Nashville to Pittsburgh looking for me, and somehow or other we made it through without anybody finding us.
Keith was now father to two children. He legally adopted Lorrie's daughter Morgan from her first marriage.
He was a wonderful father. He thought of Morgan as his little girl, and she was crazy about him, which made him even love her more. He would talk to Jesse and say, "You have such a beautiful mommy. I'm going to be the best daddy." And he was always a part of it. He knew how to make the formula. He knew how to wash and sterilize the bottles. And some mornings he would let me sleep.
Everything finally seemed to be going right for Keith Whitley. A new family and 3 top 10 hits to follow up Miami, Miami. But Keith's secret torments were not yet finished with him. They would soon visit him again. The Life and Times of Keith Whitley returns in a moment on TNN.